Hey guys, this is my 8th battle report. I'm trying to do it a little bit quicker, so I'm going to move more quickly through the slides and not talk as much on each slide. Let me know if you have any comments or thoughts on the format of these videos or what you'd like to see or hear. This is another game played on Universal Battle. It's against Devine, I think is his name. His name's actually Steve, like mine, but really cool guy. I've played him once before, so this is a rematch after our tournament game, which was my round 2 game that I lost to him. So looking for a little bit of revenge here. Let me know what you think. So this first slide is our deployment. The map was provided by the tournament creator, and the scenario is Dominate. So we see a tombstone in the center, and that is anything within 12 inches of that at the end of the game is scoring points. It has to be entirely within. So left to right, my deployment, I've got my recon troop and a redeemer with Onyx Ring. I've got a hunter with wings next to the building. Next to him, an order of the Forsaken Regiment. Then I've got my Abyssal Hunt with haste. A martyr horde, behind them another Forsaken Regiment. Then I've got my general, who's an exemplar Forsaker with ensorcelled armor. Another troop of recon, another martyr horde, and then my order of redemption knights with crushing strength. In his deployment, he's got a winged unicorn with Banechant. He's got a troop of heart piercers, beast of nature. The beasts are identical in build and they're pretty loaded. So he's got the beast of nature, fly, vicious, which also gives a couple extra attacks, and lightning bolt 6. So they have a lot that they can do. Next to the beast is an Naiad stalker, then a regiment of heart piercers, another troop of heart piercers. He's got a horde of Naiad ensnarers, and they have brew of strength. And then behind them is another winged unicorn with Banechant, a third troop of heart piercers, another beast of war, and behind them a horde of worm riders. So we roll for first turn. He wins, and he decides to take the first turn. I was surprised by that. With Dominate, sometimes you try to squeeze some points in right at the last turn, but he goes first. I think he just saw the positioning and didn't want me to be able to advance too quickly on him. So he moves his beast over by the pond there. We treated that as blocking terrain, but height 0, so you can see through it, but you can't move in it. He moves his beast there, moves up his Naiad stalker. His heart piercer troops on the right move up, protecting the flanks of his horde with the winged unicorn behind them. Then his beast and worm riders move up as well. He does a little bit of shooting, but doesn't accomplish too much. A couple wounds on a Forsaken Regiment and a wound on my recon troop in the center behind the forest. So in my turn, I move up somewhat aggressively. I know I've got to act quick because he has shooting and I do not. I don't want him just whittling my units down. So on the left side, I move over my recon troop. I hop my exemplar hunter with wings across the water. And my Redeemer moves up on the other side of the water. Forsaken Regiment protecting the center area, just threatening that area if he decides to charge me at all with his beast. I've got my Abyssal Hunt and Martyrs moving up in the center with the General right behind them. He's also threatening the center area. My Recon troop moves up to just behind the forest. No need to move into the forest at this point. I can't charge anything. If he moves up, then I can charge. My Martyr Horde and Redemption Knights on the right-hand side, I get a little conservative with them, thinking he's going to move forward again, and then I can get the charge off, but that would be silly for him to do, to just let me charge him like that. So I really should have just been a little more aggressive and moved further up. I've got my other Forsaken Regiment behind them, threatening the right side of the board, just in case he does decide to charge with his beast or get aggressive. Being the smart player he is, he doesn't move up into either of my traps in the center or on the right. In fact, he scoots just about everything back except he's got his Naiad Ensnarers horde move up in the center in the forest. They've got Ensnare and now they're in difficult terrain, so for me to charge them I'd be at -2 to hit, and I'd lose any Thunderous charge. So that's not very appealing either. His shooting does a little better this turn. Excuse me. He does a couple wounds across the board, one on my general, one on a martyr horde, and then he does 6 more on my recon troop. He just scores good hits with, I think he took lightning bolts from both of his beasts on them, but only manages to waver them. They've got Valiant from the Forsaken behind them, so their nerve is increased by 1, and that's just enough to leave them on the field, so they're wavered instead of routed, which is good for me. And in my turn, I've got a couple of charges, but not nearly as many as I would have liked. So I have to get a little tricky here and move up some more. On the left side, my recon troop was outside of range to charge anything because he backed up, so they just move up onto the side there. My hunter is in charge, is in range of the winged unicorn, so he charges that just to disorder it, so he can't do any magic next turn. My Forsaken Regiment was just barely within range to charge, but they did have to land slightly onto that obstacle, and so they were hindered. -1 to hit and no thunderous charge. They only do a couple of wounds. No real effect there, but except for the fact that I do disorder them and they cannot shoot, so that's good. My Abyssal Hunt, he had moved up his Naiad Stalker and charged my Abyssal Hunt. I forgot to mention that in the last slide. Did a few wounds with that guy, but really now he's just in my way. I really can't get around him at all, so I'm forced to charge him. I do 5 wounds, which is less than I would have hoped for, and he stays put. He's got regen 4+, and he's still in my way, so that's not good. In the forest there in the center, I realize I can't get away from his Ensnarer Horde by retreating at all or repositioning with my Martyr Horde. But my general's got defense 6, and it looks like I would only get charged by the Horde, so I go ahead and position him there so that if he charges me, his flank will be exposed, and hopefully I'll be able to get him in the next turn. I did not notice, however, that his beast on the right-hand side is now in my general's flank. So I'm probably looking at a double charge from that. So that's a mistake I made there. My Martyr Horde and Redemption Knights move forward. Again, just waiting for him to take a shot at me now, and hopefully I can get into combat next turn. So it turns out that was a big mistake, leaving my general there. He does get flanked by the beast and charged by the horde of ensnarers, and the rolls were with him. I don't think he rolled particularly high, but that's just a lot of attacks, and he was able to take him out even in spite of my defense 6. Something that does go my way, though, he charges my Abyssal Horde again with his Naiad Stalker, but he also throws the beast in there as well, but only manages 5 wounds and rolls low enough to I think on the first roll he actually routed them, but because I've got my Redeemer nearby, he had to re-roll, and they're just wavered, but they've got Fury, so no problem there. He takes some shots at my Forsaken down on the bottom left, but rolls low on nerve, and they're not wavered. And he countercharges my Exemplar Hunter with his Winged Unicorn, but only does a couple of wounds, and he's fine. On the right side of the board, this also didn't go well for me this turn. He decides to take a gamble and charge my Redemption Knights with his Worm Riders, and just rolls well and does the business there, and they're routed. So that's unfortunate. I lose. I think that's my most expensive unit, and they never even got to do any combat. So hopefully my Martyr Horde will be able to do work on the Worm Riders in return. So I'm able to hit back a little bit in my turn. I do countercharge his beast that had charged my Abyssal Hunt Knights. I charge him and with my Abyssal Hunt and the Redeemer. Made a crucial mistake here. I should have charged his Naiad Stalker first. I stand a good chance of killing him this turn, and then I can do overrun right into the beast. So I could have potentially taken out both those things, but I just was hasty and went straight for the beast, and now I'm stuck there behind the Stalker again. So that's not good for me. On the bottom left, I charge his Heartpiercer Regiment with my Hunter this time, do a few more wounds, and actually waver them, so they can't shoot, they can't charge. I charge his troop with my Recon troop and manage a wound. Because I'm hindered, I don't do much, but I do get 1 wound, so they're disordered as well. I take my Forsaken Regiment and I fly them to the center of the field where there was another troop of Heartpiercers. This gets them out of danger from anything else, being able to charge and easily do a wound or 2 on them, and I'm able to take out the troop and then I turn around because I know my Abyssal Hunt's probably going to get charged from his other beast, or maybe I can go back to the Heart Piercers next turn. In the center, I take my Martyr Horde and charge his beast. It's either that or the Ensnarers. I don't like my odds against either, but hopefully I can do more work against the beast. I do 5 wounds. My Recon Troop is no longer wavered. They charge the Ensnarers, and I'm really just hoping to block his charge at this point, hopefully keeping him away from my Martyr Horde, which I don't think I can do, but maybe I'll get lucky. On the right side, I do a double charge with my other Forsaken Regiment and my Martyr Horde onto his Worm Riders. I do well. I do 11 wounds, but I botched the nerve check. I think they're like a 15-17, so it's not too far off for me to rout them, but it's not meant to be. So I just have to back up and hopefully get another round on them. So here's the top of turn 4, my opponent's turn. So he does charge my Abyssal Hunt with his other beast and manages to take him out this time. And then he turns around to face the back of my Horde and my my Forsaken Knights down in the center. He charges my Martyr Horde with his Ensnarers, and I think it's a fairly average amount, maybe slightly above average amount of wounds. They're up to 10 now, but they've got a very high nerve and are fearless, so hopefully I can regenerate some wounds next turn. On the right side, he charges my other Forsaken Regiment with his Worm Riders, hoping to take them out and reposition so that my Martyr Horde doesn't get a flank charge on him, but the dice don't go well for him this time, so I think only manages a couple of wounds, and they're fine. So that's good for me. He does manage to do a couple wounds to the Forsaken Regiment with some shooting, and they are now wavered, the ones in the center. So hopefully I can get my Headstrong roll and go after that beast or the Heart Piercers again. He backs his Unicorn up, and between regeneration and healing from the Unicorn, he's managed to heal that Heart Piercer regiment fully. So I still have them to contend with. The Naiad Stalker, not sure what he did this turn. I think he just kind of stayed put in order to block movement for me. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, he's the one that shot the Forsaken Regiment in the center, that's right. So he did a wound or two there and then wavered them. And in my turn, a couple good things happen. I'm able to take out the Worm Riders on the right side. The Martyrs would have been enough to take them out on their own, but I didn't really have anywhere to go with the Forsaken Regiment anyway, so I just charged them in as well, and then they repositioned to face the center of the board. My Martyr Horde doesn't have much other option than to charge back into the Ensnarers. They are not hindered because of the forest, because they're countercharging. And they did regenerate a couple wounds, but he still got ensnared, so I land a solid hit. I get 7 wounds, but don't manage to waver or anything. And unfortunately, they're regen 4+. He's still got his Unicorns with heal, so they're probably going to be full strength again. Another good thing that happens for me, my Redeemer charges the beast all on his own, but lands a few wounds, and I roll well to waver him. That's really good for me, so now I'm not getting a rear charge on my Martyrs. And hopefully, I was hoping for a Headstrong roll from my other Forsaken Regiment in the center, but they don't make it. So hopefully that beast will stay put, that I can just charge him again next turn. My Hunter continues his work on the Heart Piercer Regiment, does 4 wounds. Again, they'll probably just regenerate or heal, but at least they're staying disordered. My Recon Troop actually does well this time, and does several wounds on the Heart Piercer troop and manages to get rid of them, so that's helpful. And here we are in the top of turn 5. Things go poorly for me here. I lose both my Forsaken Regiments from shooting. He's able to land a few more wounds from shooting and rout them. My Martyr Horde falls to his Ensnarer Horde. His beast is able to pivot and then just moonwalk back on top of the tombstone there in the center. Yeah, so I don't have a whole lot left at this point. I've got 2 individuals. I've got my Martyr Horde who can't make it anywhere near the center by the end of the game, and then I've got a Recon Troop. So if all I'm scoring is a Recon Troop, there's not a whole lot I can do. I'm hoping I can do a little damage with my individuals and maybe take out his beast, but that's going to be best case scenario. I don't think I took the last few screenshots. We were pretty late in the evening for me, so and it was just obvious at this point that I don't have a chance to win here or even fight for the draw. So again, he plays well with the forces of nature. The whole army having Pathfinder is really tricky, especially since my army uses a lot of Thunderous Charge. So he's very smart in how he uses the terrain and picks his battles there so that I have to get hindered a lot on my charges. So there was a couple times through this game that it kind of went back and forth, and I thought I had a strong chance at winning, but each round we just kind of hit back at each other. So a very fun game. I really like playing this guy. He's in Thailand, so the time difference is a little bit tricky to schedule games, but I really like his list. All the regeneration and healing is a tough thing to deal with, but really the hardest thing for me is the Pathfinder. So it's good practice for my army. I see lots of mistakes I'm still making in how I'm moving, positioning, and facing things, but just little things, little tweaks here and there that I could be doing better. All in all, I'm still really enjoying the Brotherhood list and intend to keep playing them for a while. So please let me know if you like the quicker video, and especially if you have any comments on my list or on my tactics, any suggestions you have, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.